Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Today we get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is using alcohol and drugs to relieve stress and anxiety, and why they really are terrible at doing that. Annie Grace does a great job of talking about this topic in This Naked Mind, so I'm going to read some from the book and then talk a little bit about my own experience. She says, I started as a social drinker, but during the last 5 years, I used it to relax. Ironically, drinking made my life way more stressful. My health was affected. I compounded the natural stress of my job with the anxiety of wondering what stupid comment I'd made and to whom during nights of drinking. Glass by glass, I poured stress into my life, all the while deluding myself into believing alcohol helped me relax. And I identify with this so much. I started as a social drinker. I then drank because I liked the way it made me feel. I quickly moved into wanting to drink on a daily basis just because I liked the way it made me feel. But then I also started to pick up on it being a nice way to quote unquote relax at the end of the day. And the illusion that we get is that alcohol helps us relax, when in reality it deadens our feelings. And so it doesn't help us relax, it just deadens the feelings of stress and anxiety that we have. So the question then becomes, what is actual relaxation? And that's what she addresses in the next paragraph. She says, what is actual relaxation? You could say that being completely relaxed means having nothing to worry, irk, or annoy you, either physically or mentally. How can alcohol do this for you? It does not fix the annoyances and stressors, but temporarily dulls the symptoms. And guess what? As you build a tolerance, the actual effect of alcohol decreases and your need for it increases. Soon the things that are making you upset are barely muted by alcohol, and you are addicted. Of course, addiction is a much bigger stressor than the stressors you drank to remove. You've created a mental craving for alcohol that did not exist before, one that you now have to either feed with more alcohol or deprive. Wanting something you shouldn't have does nothing to relax you. It creates a mental divide inside your mind, which is the very definition of frustration and agitation. It's the opposite of relaxation. Drinking to treat your problems ensures you will not address the true source of your discontent. It ensures you will remain stuck treating the symptoms of stress rather than their causes. Things go from bad to worse when you add alcohol dependence to the mix. And I can identify with this so much. My dependence on alcohol to help deaden my stress, to help to self-medicate with anxiety problems that I was having, created more stress in my life than I could have ever imagined. The problems that I had, a busy work schedule, a very demanding job, those problems were made so much worse by my dependence on alcohol. And I did nothing to improve myself by addressing the causes of that stress. So, when I faced a really big challenge at work, I just pushed through it as best as I could, and then all the stress and anxiety around it, I deadened with alcohol. And what that meant was I didn't really make much progress in life. I didn't learn a lot from the situations I was facing. I didn't really learn how to do things better next time. It meant that I was very wound up all the time, which decreased my mental capacity to actually critically assess situations and deal with them in a way that made sense, or deal with them in ways that would decrease the stress and anxiety I felt. So I got in this cycle where alcohol became necessary for me to cope with the stress and relaxation, but it also kept me from doing anything to prevent the stress and relaxation, the stress and anxiety in the first place. So later on, she says, she's talking about the way that she used to deal with stress and now what she does. And she says, now that I no longer administer myself a powerful poison on a regular basis, I can handle all sorts of situations, even the most daunting. Are they all easy? No. Do I feel stress? Of course. But the stress is never multiplied because I don't have the energy, self-confidence, or courage to deal with the issue at hand. And that is why that's why for me, working a program of recovery has been such an important part of my recovery and sobriety. Working a program of spiritual growth, of spiritual improvement, has become so important to me, because the question becomes, okay, I used alcohol and drugs to help cope with stress and anxiety because I didn't really know how to do that by myself. And so I need help to learn how to cope with stress and anxiety in a productive fashion, and how to use the stress and anxiety I encounter in my life not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones to self-improvement. And a program of recovery helps me do that. And there's all sorts of different approaches. I work an AA program, which has taught me, one of the most valuable things that it's taught me is how to deal with mistakes that I make. And because I used to beat myself up big time about mistakes that I made, and learning how to productively deal with mistakes and then move on from them has been very valuable for me and has decreased my stress quite a bit. And that's been a problem I dealt with even before I was drinking and using drugs. So a program like AA has helped me learn how to address some of these spiritual type issues, mental, psychological, whatever you want to call them, type of issues that I have been with me for even longer than I've been drinking or drugging. Another thing that working a program has helped me do is learn how to deal with other people. My level of irritation with other people was driven a lot by my ego, my pride, my sense that the world revolved around me, rather than what I feel now, which is a sense of being part of and a very, very tiny part of the world. And in my drinking and drugging days, I was most interested in what I could take from the world. And a program of recovery has taught me how to adjust my perspective to look at the world as a place that I can give to. And now, having a new perspective as, okay, what can I give to the world, completely changes my interaction with it. And that change in interaction with the world has also decreased the amount of stress and anxiety that I feel. It's decreased my sense of entitlement, which has decreased the self-pity, self-loathing that comes up, and it's also decreased the amount that it's increased my compassion for others and decreased my contempt for others. All of those things create quite a bit of stress for anybody who is going through addiction, and we use alcohol and drugs to deaden that stress, and it doesn't solve any of our problems. So the most important thing that I have learned is that, we have a lot of issues that we bring to the table when we're trying to remain sober. a program of recovery helps me address the issues that I was using alcohol and drugs to deaden in my life. And whether it's AA or a 12-step program, whether it's refuge recovery or another Buddhism-based program, whether it's smart recovery, which is a much more cognitive behavioral type of program, or whether it's something else entirely. Working a program that helps you look at, okay, how am I going to approach the world now that I'm sober, and how am I going to really address the issues at the base of my stress and anxiety? That's the key to finding peace and serenity and being able to relieve yourself of the anxiety and stress that really drove so much of your behavior in your drinking and drugging days. And that relief that you find in recovery is so much more pure and so much more relaxing than anything that you ever found when you were drinking and drugging. I promise that, because my ability to relax, to take a breath, and to just let it go, I can do that in ways now that I was never able to when I was in my addiction. When I was in my addiction, even 18 beers into a binge, I could still be wound up super tight. Today, I can relax with just letting go one breath and taking a break. And then I can move on to do what the right thing is to do next. So that's it for today. Probably some more about this tomorrow, because it's an important topic to consider as you look at how you're going to shape your life in recovery and find ways to handle and cope with the inevitable stress that life is going to throw at you, no matter whether you're drinking, drugging, or staying sober for the rest of your life. Have a good one.